Have you ever felt like no matter how hard you try, some people just don't listen? Maybe it's that stubborn coworker, your skeptical friend, or even a family member who just won't budge. You share your ideas, your vision, your passion, but it falls on deaf ears. The truth is, influence isn't about pushing harder. It's about understanding people on a deeper level. If you can master the 5 personality types, you can break through resistance, inspire action, and create real impact. Today, I'm going to share the 5 personality types you must know to influence others. And once you understand these, you'll be able to connect, persuade, and lead like never before. Step 1, the commander, the power-driven leader. Imagine walking into a high-stakes boardroom where the energy is intense. At the head of the table sits a CEO, laser-focused, barely making small talk, already scanning the room for the person who's going to waste their time. You've been given 5 minutes to pitch an idea that could change the company's direction, but the moment you start rambling, their patience starts wearing thin. Their arms cross, their expression hardens, and before you even finish, they cut you off with, "What's the bottom line?" This is the commander, a power-driven leader who thrives on results, efficiency, and control. They don't care about the warm-up, the fluff, or the emotional appeal. They make fast decisions, expect immediate action, and demand absolute confidence from the people around them. To them, hesitation is weakness, and uncertainty is incompetence. They move through life like a force of nature, bulldozing obstacles, setting high standards, and expecting others to keep up. Commanders are often found in leadership positions, CEOs, military generals, top executives, and entrepreneurs who built their success by being decisive and taking massive action. They are competitive, assertive, and often intimidating to those who don't understand their mindset. But here's the secret. They aren't just aggressive for the sake of it. They value strength, clarity, and efficiency because that's what has worked for them. In their world, indecision leads to failure, and emotions cloud judgment. If you try to influence a commander with long-winded explanations or emotional appeals, you'll lose them in seconds. They don't have time for vague ideas. They want to know what's the goal, what's the strategy, how will this benefit them? If you can't answer those questions immediately, you'll be dismissed before you even get a chance to prove yourself. The key to communicating with a commander is to match their energy while respecting their need for control. You need to be direct, confident, and results-oriented. If you approach them with uncertainty or ask for their opinion too much, they will see it as weakness. Instead, state your case firmly, get to the point, and show them the immediate benefit. If they challenge you, don't back down. Stand your ground with logic and confidence. But here's what most people get wrong about commanders. They are not heartless. They just operate on a different frequency. They respect people who stand up for themselves, who deliver results, and who don't waste their time. If you can prove that you are an asset, they will trust you. And once you earn their trust, you'll find that behind the tough exterior is someone who values loyalty and respects those who can keep up. Step 2. The analyst, the logical thinker. Picture this. You're sitting across from a man who listens intently but doesn't say much. His eyes are sharp, scanning every detail as if he's mentally dissecting your words. You're pitching an idea, but instead of responding with excitement or emotion, he leans back, crosses his arms, and says, "Do you have any data to support that?" This is the analyst, a logical thinker who thrives on precision, structure, and facts. They don't make decisions based on gut feelings or emotional appeals. Instead, they rely on data, logic, and well-structured reasoning. Unlike the commander, who makes fast decisions based on instinct and confidence, the analyst moves cautiously, dissecting every variable before making a move. You'll often find analysts in roles that require deep critical thinking. Engineers, scientists, financial analysts, attorneys, and researchers. They excel in breaking complex problems into manageable parts, identifying inconsistencies, and ensuring that every decision is backed by sound reasoning. To them, truth is not about persuasion, it's about proof. They are naturally skeptical and will challenge any idea that lacks solid evidence. If you try to influence an analyst with excitement alone, you'll lose them instantly. They don't care how passionate you are or how confident you sound. If your idea isn't logically sound, they'll poke holes in it until there's nothing left. They have an uncanny ability to detect inconsistencies, and they are not afraid to call them out. The biggest mistake people make when dealing with an analyst is assuming that just because they are quiet or reserved, they are uninterested. In reality, they are processing everything. They don't react emotionally, but that doesn't mean they aren't engaged. They simply need time to analyze before forming an opinion. If you rush them or pressure them into a decision, they will resist even harder. To communicate effectively with an analyst, you need to come prepared. Be detailed, be precise, and anticipate their questions. If you present an idea, back it up with numbers, research, or case studies. If they challenge you, don't take it personally. It's just how they process information. Instead of getting defensive, acknowledge their concerns and provide a logical counterpoint. The more structured and well thought out your approach, the more they will respect you. But here's the key to truly connecting with an analyst. They value competence over charisma. Unlike other personality types who may be influenced by energy, confidence, or storytelling, analysts care about accuracy. If you can show them that your idea is not just exciting, but also well-reasoned and bulletproof, you'll earn their trust. And once an analyst trusts you, they become one of the most loyal and reliable allies you could ever have. Step 4, the supporter, the emotionally driven connector. Imagine walking into a coffee shop, meeting someone for the first time, and within minutes they make you feel like an old friend. They lean in when you speak, nodding with genuine interest. Their eyes light up with warmth, and you can tell they care. They're not just listening to your words, they're feeling your emotions. They remember details about your life that you barely mentioned. They ask, how's your mom doing? You mentioned she wasn't feeling well last time we talked. And just like that, you feel seen, heard, and valued. This is the supporter, an emotionally driven connector who thrives on relationships, trust, and genuine human connection. Unlike the commander who focuses on results or the analyst who prioritizes logic, the supporter makes decisions based on how something makes them feel and how it affects others. They value harmony, kindness, and personal bonds above all else. You'll often find supporters in roles where empathy and connection are essential. Teachers, nurses, counselors, human resource professionals, community leaders, and caregivers. They are the glue that holds families, friendships, and workplaces together. Their ability to create a sense of belonging is unmatched. But here's what makes them unique. They don't just crave connection, they need it. To a supporter, influence isn't about persuasion, it's about trust. If they don't feel safe with you, they won't open up. If they sense you're insincere, they will withdraw. Many people make the mistake of trying to influence a supporter with logic and efficiency alone, thinking they'll be swayed by a well-structured argument. But supporters don't just hear what you say, they feel the energy behind it. If you come across as cold, distant, or transactional, they will shut down. They don't respond well to aggressive tactics or high-pressure strategies. Instead, they respond to genuine care, personal connection, and emotional alignment. If you want to connect with a supporter, you must start with empathy. Take the time to ask about their feelings, their experiences, and their perspective. Show that you truly care about them as a person before asking for anything in return. Build trust through small, consistent actions. Remember their birthday, follow up on something important to them, or offer help without being asked. These small gestures mean everything to a supporter. But here's the challenge, because supporters prioritize relationships so much, they often struggle with setting boundaries. They may say yes to things they don't really want to do just to avoid conflict. They may hesitate to make tough decisions if they fear it will hurt someone's feelings. They value unity so deeply that they sometimes sacrifice their own needs in the process. If you recognize this, don't take advantage of it. Instead, help them feel safe and supported by reinforcing their value, not just for what they do for others, but for who they are. The beauty of a supporter is that once they trust you, they will go to incredible lengths to stand by your side. They are fiercely loyal, deeply compassionate, and willing to give their all to the people they care about. If you take the time to connect with them on an emotional level, they will not only follow you, they will champion your cause with their whole heart. Step 4. The visionary, the big picture dreamer. Imagine walking into a room where one person seems to command attention not because they're the loudest, but because their energy is magnetic. They talk fast, their hands move with enthusiasm, their eyes sparkle with excitement. They aren't discussing small details or minor setbacks. Instead, they're painting a vivid picture of what could be. They say things like, I'm in a world where, or what if we could change the way people think about this forever? This is the visionary big picture dreamer who sees possibilities where others see limitations. They are driven by ideas, innovation, and the pursuit of something greater than themselves. Unlike the commander who focuses on power, or the analyst who demands logic, the visionary thrives on creativity, inspiration, and bold, unconventional thinking. They are not concerned with the small steps. It's the grand vision, the future impact, and the potential for transformation that fuels them. You'll find visionaries in roles that demand creativity and disruption: entrepreneurs, artists, inventors, thought leaders, and change makers. These are the people who challenge the status quo, who aren't afraid to take risks, and who get frustrated when others can't see the bigger picture. They don't just want to improve things, they want to reinvent them. But here's what makes them unique. While they are brilliant at imagining the future, they often struggle with details, patience, and execution. They get excited about new ideas but lose interest in the process of making them happen. They move fast, jump from one concept to the next, and can sometimes overwhelm those around them with their endless stream of ideas. They don't like rules, structure, or bureaucracy. They resist being confined by tradition and prefer to disrupt, innovate, and to create new paths. If you try to influence a visionary with rigid plans and step-by-step processes, you'll lose them immediately. They don't want to hear about limitations, they want to hear about possibilities. They aren't interested in small improvements, they want breakthroughs. To connect with them, you have to match their energy. Speak in terms of big ideas, revolutionary shifts, and long-term impact. Show them how their vision could become reality, and they'll light up with excitement. But here's where most people get it wrong. Visionaries may be dreamers, but they aren't unrealistic. They know the odds are against them, but they don't care. They believe in making the impossible possible, and they look for people who share that belief. If you're too focused on what can't be done, they'll lose interest in you. But if you can help them bridge the gap between their vision and real-world execution, they'll see you as a critical part of their journey. The biggest challenge for visionaries is follow through. They need people around them who can ground their ideas in reality without killing their spirit. If you can help them bring their vision to life while allowing them to stay in their creative flow, they will see you as an invaluable partner. They don't just want someone to agree with them, they want someone who can help them turn their ideas into something tangible. If you understand how to speak their language, bold ideas, limitless possibilities, and transformational change, you can inspire a visionary like no one else. And when a visionary is truly inspired, they become unstoppable. Step 5, the skeptic, the critical challenger. You sit down across from someone, and before you even finish your first sentence, you see it in their eyes. The doubt, the hesitation, the unspoken challenge. Their arms are crossed, their brow is slightly furrowed, and they're already preparing their response. They don't just accept things at face value. Instead, they lean in and say, how do you know that's true? Or that doesn't sound right. Prove it. This is the skeptic, the critical challenger who questions everything, trusts few, and believes that most people are either misinformed, biased, or trying to sell them something. Unlike the visionary who thrives on possibility or the supporter who seeks connection, the skeptic is driven by proof, credibility, and an unwavering commitment to questioning the status quo. They don't follow blindly. They investigate, dissect, and challenge ideas until they are convinced of their validity. Skeptics often excel in professions that require sharp analysis and critical thinking. Lawyers, journalists, investigators, strategists, and high-level executives who deal with high-stakes decisions. They are the people in the room who ask the tough questions, spot flaws in arguments, and refuse to be influenced by hype or emotion. To them, skepticism isn't negativity, it's intellectual self-defense. They believe that blind trust leads to mistakes, and they see it as their responsibility to ensure that no one gets away with weak reasoning, manipulative persuasion, or unverified claims. The biggest mistake people make when dealing with a skeptic is trying to convince them too quickly. The harder you push an idea, the more resistance you will face. They don't want to be sold on anything. They want to arrive at the truth on their own terms. If they sense that you're exaggerating, hiding something, or trying to manipulate them emotionally, they will shut you down immediately. They value logic, transparency, and intellectual honesty. And if you violate those principles, they will never take you seriously. To gain influence with a skeptic, you must start with credibility and patience. Don't try to overpower them with confidence or charm. It won't work. Instead, acknowledge their doubts and respect their need for evidence. Instead of saying, "Trust me, this works," say, "I understand why you'd question this. Here's the data, here's the reasoning, and here's an example of how it has worked in the past." When you meet their skepticism with well-reasoned arguments rather than emotional appeals, you show them that you're not just trying to persuade them, you're giving them something worth considering. But here's something most people don't realize about skeptics. They aren't negative for the sake of it. Their skepticism is a defense mechanism, often shaped by past experiences where they were misled, disappointed, or taken advantage of. They've learned that people don't always tell the truth, that popular opinions can be wrong, and that surface-level thinking leads to mistakes. This is why they push back. They are protecting themselves and others from misinformation and bad decisions. If you try to avoid their tough questions, they will assume you're hiding something. Instead, lean into their scrutiny. Encourage them to challenge your ideas and engage in a real discussion. If they see that you're willing to engage with their doubts rather than dismiss them, they will respect you. And once you earn a skeptic's respect, they can become one of your most powerful allies. Because when they finally believe in something, they defend it just as fiercely as they once questioned it. Think about the people in your life, the ones you connect with easily, the ones who challenge you, the ones who seem impossible to reach. Maybe it's that stubborn coworker who always resists new ideas. Maybe it's the quiet thinker who never says much but seems to judge every word. Or maybe it's the dreamer who gets excited about big ideas but never follows through. Now, imagine having the ability to reach every single one of them, to break through their walls, to inspire action, to lead with influence instead of frustration. Because influence isn't about forcing your ideas onto others. It's about understanding them so deeply that they naturally align with what you're saying. Most people struggle with influence because they assume everyone thinks like they do. They believe that if something makes sense to them, it should make sense to others. But the reality is, people are wired differently. Each personality type filters information in a unique way, and if you don't know how to speak their language, you will always feel like you're hitting a brick wall. The commander, they respect strength and action. If you hesitate, you've lost them. The analyst, they need data, structure, and airtight logic. If you can't back it up, they'll rip it apart. The supporter, they care about relationships and trust. If you don't make it personal, they won't engage. The visionary, they need inspiration and limitless possibilities. If you limit their thinking, you'll lose their attention. The skeptic, they challenge everything. If you try to sell them without proof, they'll resist harder. This is why influence is not a one-size-fits-all skill. It's an art. And when you master it, everything changes. You stop struggling to be heard. You stop wasting energy on the wrong approach. You stop feeling frustrated when people don't get it. Instead, you become the person who adapts, connects, and leads with precision. But knowing these personality types is only the first step. The real power comes in applying them. Start paying attention to the people around you. Listen to how they communicate. Notice what triggers their resistance, what excites them, what earns their trust. Then start adjusting your approach. If you're dealing with a commander, be direct. If you're speaking to an analyst, bring logic. If you're talking to a supporter, lead with emotion. If you're engaging with a visionary, inspire them. If you're working with a skeptic, prove yourself. And here's the most important part. Influence isn't about changing who you are. It's about meeting people where they are. When you learn how to speak to different personalities in a way that resonates with them, you stop pushing and start pulling. You stop forcing and start attracting. You stop struggling and start winning. Because at the end of the day, the greatest leaders, the most successful entrepreneurs, the most persuasive speakers, they aren't the ones who talk the loudest. They're the ones who understand people the deepest. And when you master that skill, there is no limit to what you can achieve. 2/2. At the end of the day, influence is not about manipulation. It's about understanding people on a deeper level. It's about recognizing that everyone sees the world through a different lens shaped by their personality, experiences, and values. If you try to influence others using only your own way of thinking, you'll always face resistance. But if you adapt, connect, and communicate in a way that resonates with them, you unlock a level of influence that most people never reach. The commander moves fast, makes bold decisions, and respects strength. The analyst dissects every detail and only trusts logic. The supporter values relationships and needs to feel emotionally connected. The visionary dreams big, thrives on inspiration, and resists limitations. The skeptic questions everything and only follows what's been proven. These personalities aren't just random traits. They are predictable patterns, and when you recognize them, you gain the power to connect with anyone, anywhere, at any time. The mistake most people make is assuming that one communication style works for everyone. But influence is not about changing who you are. It's about meeting people where they are. It's about shifting your approach without losing your authenticity. And when you do that, something incredible happens. Suddenly, the difficult people in your life become easier to reach. The frustrating conversations start flowing effortlessly. The walls that once stood between you and others begin to fall. You stop struggling to be heard, and instead, people naturally start leaning in, listening, and taking action. Because the truth is, the most influential people in the world aren't the loudest. They are the ones who understand people the deepest. They don't just talk, they listen. They don't just push, they pull. They don't just demand attention, they earn trust. And now you have that power too. The question is, how will you use it?